Hello guys, so we are going to continue a discussion with respect to statistics, and in this video we are going to start a very important topic which is called as hypothesis testing. Now whenever we are talking about hypothesis testing, one thing that you really need to keep in mind, this is a part of inferential statistics. Okay, inferential stats. And what is the main aim of inferential stats? To come up with conclusions or inferences from a sample data about a unknown population parameter. Okay, so let's say that I have a specific sample data. With the help of this sample data, I will try to make some conclusions about the population data. Okay, and when I'm saying I'll make some conclusion, that basically means we make conclusion about some unknown population parameter. It can be mean, variance, standard deviation, because it is very much difficult to probably have the entire population data. So this data is specifically sample data, and this is nothing but my population data. And what is the main aim? We come up with some kind of conclusions or inferences. And how do we come with some kind of conclusions on inferences? So for this we use something called as hypothesis testing. Okay, hypothesis testing. Now we will try to see how hypothesis mechanism happens, how many steps are there, what all steps needs to be followed, and I will be giving you with a very generic simple example about hypothesis testing. So I will be giving you also a very simple example about hypothesis testing so that you can actually understand. So let's go ahead and let's understand about the hypothesis testing mechanism. Like, what are the steps that is basically involved? The first thing that in hypothesis testing, whenever we start, we need to write our null hypothesis. Okay, null hypothesis. This is denoted by H0. Okay, and what H0 will have, what null hypothesis will have, the assumption you are beginning with. Okay, so I'm going to write over here the assumption you are beginning with. Whatever by default assumptions are, that will probably go with respect to the null hypothesis. I will give you an example, don't worry. Second step is to basically write our alternate hypothesis. Now in the case of alternate hypothesis, we use H1. So let me give you a very good example. Let's say a person has committed a crime. Right now, whether this person has committed a crime or not, what the police does, they take them to the court. Right, when they take them in the court, initially, right, the judge will say that he is not guilty until proved. Right, so by default the person is not guilty, right, until proved. Right, so that is how in court actually happens. So what is the default assumption? What is the assumption you take in the beginning? That we have to probably write over here. Alternate hypothesis basically says that it is the reverse of null hypothesis. So in this case, I can basically write the person is guilty. I'm just taking a generic example to probably make you understand. So over here you'll be able to see alternate hypothesis is nothing but opposite of null hypothesis. Null hypothesis. Okay, now coming to the third step. What is the third step? Here we perform some kind of experiments. Whenever I say experiments, that basically means we perform statistical analysis. There are different type of statistical analysis specifically with respect to sample data and population data that we use, like Z-test, T-test, chi-square test, ANOVA test, F-test. All these things we'll be learning as we go ahead, right? But to give you in this case, in this problem statement, whether a person has committed a crime or not, here we collect proofs. Okay, what kind of proofs? Let's say a DNA test, right, fingerprint test, right, or it can be any kind of data. With this experiment, we can then conclude whether we should accept the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis, or reject the null hypothesis. right? So this is how we perform different steps. Here, when I say statistical analysis, then we will be talking about the statistical analysis in our upcoming videos. What are the different types of statistical analysis? All those things will be understanding. But I hope you understood about how does a hypothesis testing basically happen. You have a null hypothesis, you have alternate hypothesis, then we perform the statistical analysis to prove whether this is true or whether we need to reject this. Okay, so this many steps. Now let me go ahead and show you one example. So here you need to determine from this question what is your null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Okay, so over here a question is there that colleges at district A states its average pass percentage of students are 85%. A new college opened in the district and it was found that a sample of students 100 have a pass percentage of 90% with a standard deviation of 4%. Does this school have a different pass percentage, or does this college have a different pass percentage? Now in order to find out this, whether it has a different pass percentage, first I will define my null hypothesis. And in null hypothesis, what it says, it is very much clearly given. H0 is nothing but your average pass percentage is nothing but 85%. So in the beginning, this is the assumption that is made by someone. It can be a college, it can be a school, it can be anything, right? And now if we go and probably see with respect to alternate hypothesis, it is just see this concluding statement or problem statement, what they have told us to find out. So it says that does this college have a different pass percentage? That basically means mean is not equal to 85. It can be less than 85. It can be greater than 85. If the question was does this college have a pass percentage greater than 85, I could have written mu is greater than or equal to 85, right? But this is not equal to 85. So this is how you can talk about null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Now going forward, we'll talk about this experiments and all, because in this experiments, I also need to discuss about two different values. One is p value and one is significance value. That I will do it in my next video, right?